So I've been teaching creative entrepreneurship for a few years now, and in this time I have worked with hundreds of artists. I recently gave the folks on my email list a chance to submit their businesses for review, and the response was overwhelming. And after analyzing over 100 social media accounts and websites, I noticed something. So many of you are making the same mistakes over and over again that are killing your chances of making money from your creative work and growing online. And this isn't just about posting more reels or using hashtags, it's deeper than that. I'm talking about core, fundamental principles of marketing that so many creative people are completely ignoring. So welcome to my new series, Business Breakthrough. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at 4 different artists and the mistakes they're making, how they can improve, and how you can learn from them. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. First artist that I want to talk about today is named Joe. Joe offers one of the coolest, most unique creative services I have ever seen: ceremonial tattoo artistry. They combine a meditation ritual with a hand-poked tattoo, doing everything by hand. It's so cool and special. A few months ago, they shared this magazine illustration project they worked on, which looks absolutely gorgeous, and they mentioned that they want to do more stuff like this in the future. So let's take a look at Joe's Instagram and their website. Okay, here is Joe's Instagram. The first thing that I'm noticing is, like, once again, Joe, your art is absolutely gorgeous. There's so many interesting things happening here. You mentioned in your form that you're kind of struggling with a business and marketing strategy. I would really ask you what you want out of your business. What do you want out of your creative practice? Because if it's tattoos, this is gorgeous, right? It's incredible. If it's magazine editorial illustration, that kind of commands a different approach. And I'm curious, like, what you actually want, what you feel called and interested in doing, because I think the businesses required for like editorial illustration and tattooing are noticeably different. I'm sure you could combine the two, but like if it's really just one that you prefer, like let's just go with one. I think your work is absolutely gorgeous. There are a couple of things that I'm noticing throughout here. Number one is that you have a lot of fonts going on, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. This is also true on your website. Your website has a ton of stuff going on here. If there was one recommendation that I would give you just in general, it would be to redo your website. Your website, it does not give the calm, meditative vibe that your Instagram profile does. It honestly, like, your website has so many things going on that I actually really struggle to interface with it. The colors on your website and the fonts are not accessible. I think that's really worth looking at. Like, there's very little contrast between the stuff that you have going on. Like, look at this text in this background, right? This is not different enough. In terms of like website accessibility, I think there's a lot to improve on here. I also want to point out these 2 buttons over here. They're a little bit strange in like how little padding is along this side. If I was you, because you are so incredibly talented and you have this like gorgeous work that you're showing off in this magazine, like, look at this. This is incredible. This is so special and cool and interesting. I love the way that this plays with text and all of the really interesting stuff that you have going on here. If this is what you want your business to be, your website needs to reflect that. Your website could be like hand illustrated, but I think right now your website is so maximalist. There are so many things going on. Like, if I hit this button, I see this, and there are so many things happening. I feel like I'm being waterboarded with information. And I genuinely think that your website is costing you money in sales, like in clients. I think it is difficult to navigate, and this is costing you money and opportunities. If you want more gigs like this magazine, I think that we have to see that desire. We have to see that that's what you want. You have to communicate that. You have to put that information out into the world. If I was you, I would have that simple landing page that I described, right? Your name, who you are, what you do, cool illustrations on the border, and 3 buttons. One button is book a ritual tattoo appointment, something like that. The next one is like see my work or learn more about me. And the next one is like hire me for your project, right? Like some kind of really cool thing. And then have like dedicated parts of your website for each of those 3 things. On the tattoo part of your website, show off your tattoos. You have done so many really cool, incredible tattoos. Like, I love this one on the collarbone that's like super, super cool and special. I think it's really fun and interesting. And then you could also have information on how to book you, something super simple. And that's honestly what I would go with. That is like my strongest recommendation. In terms of content strategy, right? Because in your form, you talked a lot about wanting a better content and business strategy for yourself. I think I would strongly recommend thinking about your ideal customer, right? Who is the kind of person that wants to purchase a ceremonial tattoo from you? Base your ideal client off of the clients that you have already had, right? Their hobbies, their interests, what they look like, where they live. Think about that kind of person, and then think about, okay, if this person wasn't interested in tattooing yet, or didn't know they were, what else would they be interested in? Probably they're going to be really interested in meditation, maybe concepts like sound bathing or manifestation. Maybe they're really interested in Indigenous practices and studies and traditions. Think about the kind of content that you could create that would link you up to that ideal customer, but that doesn't necessarily completely rely on tattooing, right? I think you want to create a world or an ecosystem of content that magnetically attracts your ideal customer. That is what I would recommend for you. I think your own interests are going to be a great kind of first step for you to expand the breadth of your content, because you can explore ceremonial tattooing from a variety of angles, right? You could talk about why people get that with you. Like, what's the driver that makes them want to do that one-day meditation retreat and the hand-poked tattoo? What stories are they telling in these tattoos? What stories are you telling in these tattoos? How can you tell a story and create a world within your work that is extremely compelling and rich with tradition? I think really what I want to see from you, Joe, is like more storytelling, right? I want to see more immersion. I want to see more world building. I think that would be really, really compelling. And I think for anyone watching this, there is something really, really special that comes into play when you have an understanding, an intimate understanding of who your audience actually is. Then you can create incredibly magnetic content that attracts them from a whole variety of things, even if they had no idea they were interested in your kind of artwork. Think about, like Joe, like Buaya Blessings, how you could connect with folks that will be interested in ceremonial tattoo artistry, but aren't quite yet. They don't know about you, but they do probably like meditation. They do probably like manifestation and sound bathing and crystals and nature and hiking in the outdoors and activism. Those are really a whole myriad of interests, and we're painting a picture of a kind of person that is real and tangible, that is out there, that you can reach through content, that you can reach through telling a story, right? Think about how you can tell stories with your work. With Buaya Blessings, we have the story of the artwork itself, all of the inspirations to it, all the things that have like made this person who they are, but also the client side of things. Like, these are people, these tattoo clients, that want to tell stories on their body. That is an intense amount of commitment. What stories are they telling? What transformation are they after? What emotional connection inspired them to have this done to them? Think about how you can tell that story, how you can share that, how you can make that incredibly compelling as a piece of content and as a piece of artwork. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. That's just my thoughts. Let's move on to the next artist. The next artist I wanted to discuss is Daniel Ang. Daniel is an illustrator and creates YouTube videos analyzing art from games and media. His work is cozy, it's intimate, it uses a lot of purple, and I really love the detail in his work and how he creates this really beautiful sense of atmosphere. So Daniel really mostly wanted me to take a look at his YouTube channel, so let's go ahead and do that. The first thing that I'm noticing, Daniel, is that these thumbnails are kind of all over the place. There's a lot happening here. We don't have consistent usage of fonts. We don't have a consistent vibe. I can tell it right now, you're kind of in your experimentation phase, right? You're like throwing stuff at the wall and trying to see what sticks, and that's good to do, and I like encourage that approach. But I think if we look at your most popular videos, we already have a sense of what works for you. And in your form, you describe yourself as an artist that creates YouTube videos analyzing art from games and media. And I can see you doing that, but I also see you do a lot of other things that don't feel super connected. I think really, Dana, what I want to see more of from you is analyzing the art of games and media, which you are already doing. I want to see more of that. I also want to see you use more of this winning combo of title, right? Analyzing the art of. I want to see more of that. There's too much going on your channel right now. You have too many formats in the works. I kind of want you to narrow down. I want you to stick with like 1 or 2 main formats for the next 3 months and see how that goes. I also kind of recommend that you ditch this stuff of like Photoshop tutorials and leave that behind. I know they're getting views for you right now. I think that's probably not what you actually want to be doing for the next like 5 years. I think instead, if you still want to educate like this, if you still want to teach stuff specifically like this, that's more like how to paint graphics they use in Photoshop, you do that in a paid product, right? You mentioned in your form that you are currently struggling with a sustainable monetization strategy. And I think genuinely that turning your tutorials, those videos, into paid experiences where you are teaching a clear, actionable thing in like maybe an hour-long mini course or a demo or a PDF guide, what have you, would work really well for you. Like, okay, imagine this, right? Let's say that you do another video on analyzing the color theory in Spider-Verse, okay? Maybe you create a PDF guide that teaches color theory, and you're like, hey, if you enjoyed this video, I made a whole guide for you to help you deepen your understanding of color theory, and it includes like practical activities for you to deepen your understanding and make better art right now, or make better art in the next 2 weeks. Here's a link. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. And that's it, right? It's a simple call to action, but it connects the topic of your videos, right? Analyzing art in media and video games, and connects that back to your practice as an educator. It gives you an opportunity to display expertise, but to also broaden up your content, right? Because the audience of people that are interested in 5-part Photoshop tutorials is limited, right? We're seeing that in your results right now. 1,500 views, 3,000 views. But if we look at your big, broad tentpole videos about the Spider-Verse and analyzing that art, we're seeing 200,000, 150,000 views, and that's incredible. Those results are truly insane. I want to see you do more of that, right? I want to see you broaden up in your content and try to reach more than just like skilled artists and folks interested in education right now, and try and reach like a huge pool of people. And then in your products, you can narrow down, right? In your products, you can teach things like every Photoshop custom brush setting and how to use the stroke path, but keep the analysis for your content, right? Because that's, I'm betting, probably what you're most interested in. If you spent more time with that format, I think interesting things would happen. I think you would discover really interesting facts about your audience. And if you wanted to keep going with the education route, if you wanted to kind of bridge these two formats together, you should look at Creator TPPO, because what this creator does is they do art analysis of specific artists and then connect that back to a clear, tangible learning goal for their own creative practice. Like, for example, TPPO's video on learn how to make your art pop by copying Mika Picasso is 1.8 million views. It has 1.8 million views 2 years ago. Really, really compelling, right? You are taking analysis and then you are inserting an educational component into that bridges those two audiences together. If you wanted to do both things, I would recommend that you do it this way. Do not stick with Photoshop tutorials unless that is really your most fervent passion. Overall, like, this channel has a lot of potential, and I really believe in you. I want to see you succeed. I think you absolutely have what it takes. So let's move on to the next artist, but before we do, I do want to give a huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I need you to know that even if Squarespace wasn't sponsoring the channel, I would still recommend them. This is because I've used Squarespace to host my own website for years now, and I genuinely believe it is an amazing platform for artists looking to get started selling stuff online. They have all the features a budding art entrepreneur would need, from email lists to fluid design tools that enable you to get your website just right. And for those of us that are intimidated by taxes, aka me, Their third-party tools like QuickBooks and TaxJar make collecting and remitting sales tax really easy. I sell prints via dropshipping on my website, as well as purely digital products, but you could sell consulting services like portfolio reviews or even courses on Squarespace. They really do let you do it all. If you want to give it a try, use code Kelsey Rodriguez at checkout to get 10% off your first order of a website or domain. Thank you so much again, and let's get back to the video. The next artist I want to talk about is Kathy, aka Cat Shy Crafts. Kathy has been creating embroidered felt art since 2011, and 99% of her sales come from makers markets. Her main struggle right now is broadening up her business to online sales and trying to create interesting content for her Instagram other than just photos of her booth. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. I think the first thing that I'm noticing here, Kathy, is that your work is so cute and aesthetic and adorable, but I'm not seeing the vibe of your work translated overall to the vibe of your content, right? You asked me to be brutal. I think it feels a little haphazard, to be honest. There's a lot of text involved. The lighting isn't consistent. I'm not sure where we are. It feels like your work isn't being highlighted in these photos. It feels like I'm not getting a display. It feels very kind of scatterbrained. I think posts like this cover and this cover, are maybe more on the right track. This is adorable. I love this down here. I think that actually works really well. But I think posts like this stretch, there is so much information here, I don't know what's going on. There's so much text, I have no idea what's happening. And I'm scared. I think this should be really, really simplified. Think about how you can create graphics that are on brand for you that communicate the same information but without all the visual clutter. I want to see your work highlighted. I want to see it showcased. I want to see your process more. What if, I don't know, you create a little stop motion animation with your characters in your little art booth or something with nice lighting, or you did little ASMR videos of your process creating these characters and these little cool accessories and illustrations. I want to see more of this. I want to see your work in a more pastel, brightly lit environment with vibrant colors and a more overall cutesy setting. I want to see your work in a setting that shows it off, that showcases it, and that feels like it makes sense. In terms of actual content ideas, I think ASMR is pretty far up there for me. I really would want to see how you create your work. I think you should also consider the same advice that I gave Daniel and Joe, right? Think about your ideal customer. You have been doing this since 2011. You know who that person is. You have met them thousands of times. Who are they? Give me 6 broad avatars of who your audience is, right? What are their interests aside from your art? How can you reach them where they're at? How can you reach them where they spend time? If they're not at an art market, where are they? In general, I want more consideration for who your audience is and the other interests they have other than your work, and how you can tie that back into your content, right? What do you do outside of this? Do you do gardening? Do you like flowers a lot? How does that tie back into your work? I think I would talk more about the process behind your work, the story behind it, and your journey overall as an artist so far. If you ever wanted to educate other artists, I think you would be in a great position to do so. You have been doing this for a very long time. I think that alone says a lot about your abilities as a business owner, a lot of very good things, and your work is very cute. It's very skilled. You're good at what you do. I want to see you do more of it. And I want to see you display your work in the right way. I want to see you showcase it the way that it deserves, right? Think about how you can create really cool, fun product photos and promotional photos featuring your work in brightly lit, cutesy settings with some plants and maybe like, I don't know, fun fabrics and good lighting and a lot of stuff there. I hope that helped you. The last artist I wanted to talk about today is Bailey Crabtree. Bailey is a lino cut print artist and has been on Etsy for 2 years now. She made $3,600 in revenue last year. Huge congratulations to you, Bailey, and is looking to break 10K this year. She says her biggest struggle right now is organization. The first thing that I want to do here is take a look at Bailey's Etsy shop. So a few things that I'm noticing kind of right away. The product photos are a little bit everywhere. Of all of them, I think this one is my favorite. This is beautiful. Genuinely, this is gorgeous. I love this product photo. I like how this is actually blurred. I think that's like good, actually. It highlights this even more. I would do more of your product photos in this style. I think overall I want more cohesion. Let's take a look at your Instagram profile. So Bailey, you're obviously really skilled, right? Like you're good at what you do. I like your work, but I think there is a certain lack of cohesion or a lack of direction with your Instagram posts that to me convey a certain lack of professionalism. And I know that's not really what you intend here, but I think I want something a little bit more consistent. Like, let's take a look at Natasha L, aka Sad Shrimps. There's a cohesion here. Do you see what I mean? There's like consistent typography and a color palette and like a vibe to it that conveys really good things about the quality of this person's work that I want to see you imitate a little bit more, right? How can we create slightly more professional photos? I know what you were talking about in your form is that you're really struggling with handling everything, and I think we could batch a lot of this content. If I were you, if I had a weekend to myself or even a couple hours on a Saturday, the thing that I would do is try and create maybe 12 to 15 extremely professional looking photos and then batch schedule that for like the next 3 weeks until I had another opportunity to take those photos again. Trying to really display your work in the best possible light, put the best possible foot forward, because selling in person is amazing, but I also think it would be good for you to have the option of gaining an audience online and selling online. And I think having a more professional online presence, like for example, something really easy to fix is like this art is skewed, right? Like this isn't quite perfectly centered or a little off axis here. I think that this could be improved on. I'm also not sure what the point of this post is. Your t-shirt's here and that's cool, but what's the point of this post? Like, what are you trying to achieve? Is this to showcase your work? If so, why is it covered up, right? If it's to sell these shirts, then why don't you have a call to action anywhere? I think I want more deliberate thinking here when it comes to strategy, right? And you asked me to be brutal, so I'm being brutal. I really want you to succeed. I think that you absolutely have what it takes, but I do think I just want more professionalism, right? I want a little bit more of a focus on creating something really, really high quality in your work and telling the story and showcasing your work in the best possible light. I know this seems intimidating right now because I'm like laying a ton of stuff on you, but seriously, develop a kind of concrete sense of brand for your work and then spend like 2 hours on an afternoon taking a bunch of photos that fit into this brand and then schedule those for weeks and weeks and weeks out. So you've batched a whole bunch of content and you still have time to manage the rest of your business and your kids. Your art is great. It's so good. But we just need to get better at how we display and showcase your work and tell the story of your work. And that's all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments if you did. And if you want to be featured in a video like this one, sign up to my email list. There is a link in the description. Only folks on my email list will get opportunities like this one in the future, so that's the place to be. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.